The first worst financial mistake made by high-income professionals. And this one is the most visible mistake. The luxury car addiction. Here's how this plays out in real life. A young lawyer lands their first big law firm job making $180,000 a year. Within 6 months, they're driving off the lot in a brand new BMW 5 Series with a $1,200 monthly lease payment. 3 years later, they trade it in for the next latest model. And they repeat this behavior over and over again. And I personally saw this exact pattern play out when I graduated from business school many years ago. Many of my friends who landed high-paying jobs in finance and tech immediately felt they needed to upgrade their cars to match their new professional status. I mean, how could a successful investment banker drive up in a beat-up Honda Civic into the office of Goldman Sachs? Especially when the parking lot is filled with Porsche, Mercedes, and Range Rovers. But here's where it gets worse. Most high-income professionals can't stop at just one luxury car. Many who are married often have two, one for each spouse. If each car has a monthly lease payment of $1,200, we're talking about $2,400 per month in total, or nearly $29,000 annually. And we haven't even gotten to the more expensive car insurance and car maintenance costs that comes with these luxury vehicles. And the justification is almost always the same. I need to look successful for my clients. I need to look successful in front of my colleagues and peers. But here's the reality. Your clients or your colleagues couldn't care less about what car you drive. Because what truly matters is your competence, your ability to complete your work and do it well. And if your clients or colleagues do care what car you drive, they likely are not individuals you want to have too close to you. Going back to my business school classmates, while I had tons of friends that upgraded their cars right away, I also had wiser friends that kept their old beaters despite landing some very prestigious and well-paying jobs. And where are many of those friends today? Many are able to reap the fruits of their frugality. Because they did not let society dictate what kind of a car they needed to drive, they were able to enjoy greater financial freedom today. Alright, but let's say you really want to drive a luxury car. You just love the experience. What can you do? Well, here are some of my wiser friends who do choose to drive a luxury car do. They buy reliable 2 to 3 year old luxury cars with cash. They understand that they can save a lot of money by buying after the car has already taken its biggest depreciation hit. For example, a brand new BMW 5 Series costs around $80,000. However, a 3-year-old one, you can find one for around $35,000. That is more than 50% in savings. And if you were to drive it for 7 to 8 years instead of leasing one every 3 years, now you're getting 90% of the luxury experience at 30% of the cost. Bottom line, be smarter. Luxury cars themselves are not bad. It only gets bad when it takes over our lives and, most importantly, our financial security. Alright, however, apart from an unnecessarily expensive car lease payment, do you know what else I consider worse? An unnecessarily expensive mortgage payment. Let's talk about that next. However, before we get there, let me talk about another very costly financial mistake that many high-income professionals make. Many assuming that their high income means their family is automatically protected. I see this all the time. Physicians, lawyers, engineers, corporate executives. People making really good salaries who are incredibly smart about their careers, but they never stop to ask, what happens to my family's lifestyle if my income suddenly disappears? Would my family be financially okay if something was to happen to me tomorrow? Which is why I'm excited to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Fabric by Gerber Life. Now I know what you're thinking. I make good money and I get life insurance policy through work. But here's the thing. Most employer policies only cover 1 to 2 times your salary. Sounds like a lot, right? But you gotta do the math. If your family needs to replace your income for even 10 years to continually pay the mortgage, kids' college, and everything else, suddenly that employer policy doesn't look so generous. That is where Fabric comes in. The first benefit with Fabric? The speed. Many insurance providers require you to go through literal hoops to get coverage. Well, with Fabric, none of that. You can apply online in under 10 minutes. No awkward meetings with agents, no pushy sales tactics, and no scheduling nightmare to tick off all the boxes just to get your application pushed through. With Fabric, the application is done in less than 10 minutes. And in some cases, if you qualify, you could be offered coverage instantly and with no health exam required. Second, the affordability. Fabric has high-quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million coverage for less than $1 a day. That is probably less than what most of us spent yesterday on a cup of coffee. And the third thing that sets Fabric apart? They built this whole ecosystem for busy parents just trying to do the best for their families. With Fabric, you can get more than just life insurance. You can get free online wills, access to kids' investment accounts, and college savings tools. Everything you need to manage your family's financial complexity, and all from your phone. Because when you're managing a demanding career plus your family, the last thing you need is another complicated system. And with over 1,900 5-star reviews, excellent rating on Trustpilot, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, Thousands of families, many probably in a similar situation to yours, have trusted Fabric to protect what they worked so hard to build. As a fellow parent who takes family financial security seriously, I can tell you that getting adequate life insurance was one of the best decisions my wife and I made. Not just for the coverage, but for the peace of mind knowing that our kids' future are protected no matter what. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/tay. That's meetfabric.com/tay. MEET fabric.com/tay. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the video. The second worst financial mistake made by high-income professionals. And this one is brutal, especially to someone's long-term wealth. The mortgage madness. Essentially buying the biggest house one can buy. Why? Because the bank told me I can. Here's a classic scenario. A corporate executive making $500,000 gets pre-approved for a $3 million mortgage. The real estate agent shows them beautiful homes in the most prestigious neighborhoods. And before they know it, they're signing papers on a $2.8 million McMansion because we can afford the payment and our house is an investment. Again, I watched this play out over and over again with many of my friends and colleagues who made really good money from their day job but struggled to find financial security and freedom because they got caught up in the mortgage madness. Let's go back to that $2.8 million McMansion example. If our corporate executive put down $300,000, they would still need a $2.5 million mortgage. Do you want to see how expensive this can get? A $2.5 million mortgage at 7% interest over 30 years means you're paying about $1,700 every single month. That adds up to nearly $200,000 per year, and we're just talking about the mortgage payment. We're not even talking about property tax, home insurance, maintenance, and utility cost. When you add up all the costs, we're talking about $300,000 or more on just housing alone. And banks, mortgage brokers, and real estate agents do not help here. They fuel this mortgage madness by telling high earners they qualify for massive mortgages. Sir, you are so talented. Look how successful you are. You need a home that is representative of your success. Well, great news. Because you bring in a significant income, you qualify for a $3 million mortgage. Do you want me to connect you with a realtor that can make your dreams come true? But the truth is that they're only funding their dreams at the expense of yours. Here are what smart high-income earners do when they come to buying homes. 1. They resist the pressure to buy a home for status. They understand that a home should serve the purpose of providing them comfortable shelter and supporting their lifestyle, not impressing others. 2. They ignore what the bank says they can afford and focus on what they want to pay. The 28% rule is a good starting place, keeping monthly housing costs no more than 28% of your gross income. However, many wise high-income earners strive for much less because they understand every dollar they can save in housing is money they can invest to buy financial freedom sooner. 3. If they really want a nice home, they only wait until they can truly afford it without compromising their wealth-building goals. Instead of stretching for their dream home right away, they work their way up slowly, only buying up when their investments have grown to a point where a large home has minimal impact on their overall wealth. Bottom line, wise high-income earners recognize that a home should support our wealth-building goals, not sabotage them. The goal is never to impress our friends, our neighbors, or random strangers driving past our home. It is to build lasting wealth that can fund our financial freedom. Alright, but let's say that you're really good with how you spend your money, especially when it comes to big-ticket items like your car and your home. You don't drive luxury cars and you live in a modest home. So all is good, right? Well, not quite right, because this next one gets many very smart and capable high-income professionals. And you could be making it right now without even realizing it. The third worst, and I believe one of the most common financial mistakes made by high-income professionals: outsourcing investments. Most high-income earners are super busy. Many have very demanding jobs that require much of their time and energy. So what happens when it comes to investing is that many gravitate towards outsourcing much of their investment decisions. They say, I don't have the time to manage my portfolio. Additionally, I'm sure the professionals know better. So why not let them handle it all? However, this is a big mistake. Actually, one of the biggest financial mistakes one can make. Bigger than leasing a brand new luxury car every month or buying a multi-million-dollar McMansion. Let me show you why. Let's say we have a highly skilled software engineer that makes $600,000 a year. And because this individual is so busy with work and also feels they don't know enough about money, decides to hire a financial advisor. An advisor who promises to handle everything. And to prove his competence, this advisor puts together a complex portfolio that looks highly sophisticated to this engineer. Thus, this engineer thinks, this is great. I'm so darn busy at work to manage my investment or to learn about investing. And this guy looks like he has the right skills and the right credentials. I'm just going to let him handle everything. So he hands over his entire $2 million portfolio and pays 1.5% annually in fees. An amount he thinks is pretty small relative to how much he pays out in other areas of his life. However, that seemingly small 1.5% fee is absolutely devastating to his long-term wealth. Over 30 years, assuming a 7% annual return, that $2 million portfolio would have grown to about $15 million without fees. But with that 1.5% annual fee, it only grows to about $10 million. That small fee just cost him over $5 million in wealth, more than twice what a typical McMansion would have cost him. And this assumes that the advisor even matches market returns, which most don't. When you factor in underperformance on top of high fees, the damage becomes even more catastrophic to your financial future. But that is not all. If you can believe it, it gets even worse. On top of being charged ridiculous fees, these high-income professionals are constantly being sold more complex products that they do not need. Structured notes, hedge funds, private equity, whole life insurance, etc. All products that make tons of money for the people selling them, but not for the individuals buying them. And the sales pitch is always the same. Sophisticated investments for sophisticated investors. But the truth is that in the world of investing, complexity is the enemy of true wealth. Because the more layers you add, advisors, funds of funds, insurance wrappers, the more hands are in your pocket, quietly siphoning off your returns year after year. However, when you focus on simplicity, broad diversification, low fees, and long-term compounding, you're actually building lasting wealth. So here's what the smartest high-income professionals do instead when it comes to investing. 1, they actually take the time to learn the basics of investing themselves. Even a few weekends reading reputable books or watching educational videos like this can put you ahead of most so-called experts. 2, they automate their investments into broad market funds while keeping fees to a minimum and emotions out of the equation. And 3, they don't get swayed by all the noise out there. They use the principle of simplicity to keep them grounded, and they let the market and the time do the heavy lifting. Bottom line, be careful of outsourcing your investments. As you can see, the cost of convenience can add up to millions. Additionally, no matter what anyone says, no one will care more about your money than you. So take control. The number 4 worst financial mistake made by high-income professionals. And this one is a sensitive one. The private school drain. Most of us would do anything and everything for our kids. Run into a burning building to save them, sacrifice our own comfort for their happiness, and yes, spend enormous amounts of money on their education because we see it as an investment in their future. But here's where high-income professionals make a big financial mistake. They prioritize their children's educational expenses over their own financial security, often to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the justification is most often always emotional. I want to give my kids the best opportunities. Quality education is priceless. The public schools in our area is not good enough. But here's what studies have shown when it comes to the well-being of our children. Parental involvement matters far more than school choice for academic outcomes. Kids from engaged families succeed in public schools, while kids from disengaged families struggle even in elite private schools. So recognize that if you're choosing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your children's education, but spend almost zero time with them, you're not buying your child's success. You're buying your own peace of mind and social status. Additionally, elite private schools have other side effects, especially to your financial lifestyle. You're suddenly surrounded by other high-income families who normalize even more expensive spending. The school fundraisers expect 5-figure donations. Your kids see classmates with $100,000 Sweet 16 parties and European spring break trips. Lifestyle inflation is almost a must in many of these elite school communities. Here's what I consider a wiser approach. If you're determined to spend big on education, do it strategically and wisely. I've seen smart parents send their kids to quality public education up through high school and save premium education spending for college where it matters most for career opportunities. And that doesn't mean you have to send your kids to the most expensive private colleges out there. Never discount your local state universities. Most states have excellent public college options, and many of their programs are often just as good or many times even better than comparable private colleges. Of course, I'm biased here, given I'm a proud product of the University of California system. Bottom line, I firmly believe that the best gift we can give to our children is not an expensive education. It's financial security, teaching them how to build wealth, and overall, just being a good role model. Kids who watch their parents sacrifice retirement for their education often feel guilty and pressured. Kids who see their parents building wealth while making smart education choices learn valuable lessons about priorities and financial responsibility. The number 5 worst financial mistake made by high-income professionals. This one isn't as visible as the other ones we covered so far, but it catches a lot of high-income professionals by surprise. And that is peak income blindness. A tech executive making $400,000 at age 45 assumes they'll be earning the same or more until they're 65. A surgeon making $600,000 believes their income will only go up from here. A lawyer billing $350 an hour thinks they're set for life because they're at the peak of their career. But here's a brutal reality that most high earners fail to recognize and acknowledge: that professional decline comes much sooner than you think. Research shows that in most fields requiring mental processing speed and analytical capabilities, the kind of professions most high earners occupy, peak performance hits around age 50, followed by noticeable decline. Thus, what do you think normally happens if we turn blind eye to the income trend and continue to make spending decisions based on current income levels, assuming we'll maintain or exceed those earnings for decades? Many take on massive mortgages, expensive private school commitments, and luxury lifestyle expenses that require peak earnings to sustain. The truth is that for many people, their peak income years are shorter and more precious than many like to believe. So while you should be optimistic about your future, also practice a healthy level of pragmatism. Be wise by front-loading your savings during your peak earning years. Don't lock yourself into an expensive lifestyle that could become harder and harder to maintain as you get older. Always live modestly and leave yourself a healthy cushion between what you earn and what you spend. Thank you guys for watching the theme of building wealth. If you want to learn what I consider the ultimate secret to building wealth, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.